It looks like Anthropic are clamping down on other coding agents using their subscription, so OpenCode, Claude and many others, meaning if you have a Claude Pro or Max plan, you can only use it with Claude Code and nothing else. But this seems to have had the biggest impact on OpenCode users, since it's probably the most popular terminal coding agent after Claude Code. Do Anthropic really see them as a threat? Hit subscribe and let's get into it. If you've never heard of OpenCode, it's an insanely popular terminal coding tool, which you can learn more about in this video. But basically, it's made by the same company behind SST, so Anomaly, and it's an open source agent that can be used with any model. So any Claude, any OpenAI model, Gemini, any of the Chinese models, you name it, you can use it with OpenCode. And most importantly, it also supports a bunch of subscriptions. In fact, I think it might have been the first tool to actually support the Claude subscription other than Claude Code. So you can run OpenCode auth login, sign in, and benefit from the subsidized costs that the subscription provides. Don't hold me to this, but I think this might have helped make OpenCode so popular. I mean, it's been out for less than a year and has more than 56k stars on GitHub and almost 150,000 weekly downloads on NPM alone. And there are multiple ways to download it, so I'm sure those stats are really high as well. But what makes this worse for Anthropic is that it seems like, on Twitter anyway, that people actually prefer using OpenCode with Claude models than using Claude Code. And the business side of Anthropic must have been furious at hearing this news. I mean, they have a subsidized subscription plan and people are using it with whatever tool they want. This is not the best way to lock them into the ecosystem, so they made this decision. Luckily, OpenCode have found a way around this, which I'll talk about later on in the video. But to be honest, this decision makes perfect business sense. There are users out there who run Claude models for 24 hours every single day, which would rack up thousands of dollars in API costs. And this is even before the Ralph loop technique became popular, because now people are using it to run loops over and over again to slowly improve their project. You can learn more about Ralph from this video. I'll also link it in the description. But essentially, Anthropic are taking a huge hit from users that aren't in their ecosystem. It's kind of like Spotify allowing you to use their subscription with Apple Music or Amazon Music. It just doesn't make business sense. What does make more sense is if a user is locked into Claude Code and they use its features for their workflows like hooks, subagents, and skills, then if a newer model comes along from a different company like OpenAI or Gemini, they're less likely to move from Claude to it because they're so used to the systems they've put in place from Claude Code. But with OpenCode allowing users to use their Claude subscription, that prevents Anthropic from having that lock-in, because with OpenCode you can use any model, and OpenCode has its own features like agents, skills, and sub-agents. So you could have a workflow in OpenCode, and if a newer model, say Grok, comes out, you can just switch that workflow to Grok. And as a user, you don't have that lock-in from Anthropic, which is good because you can choose the best and cheapest model for your task, but it's bad for Anthropic because they make much less money. So I completely understand why Anthropic are doing this, but what I don't understand is why they did it so suddenly, kind of overnight. No blog post, no warning, no nothing, leaving their users bewildered. But luckily, OpenCode has a fix for this issue, which you can see in this PR. Simply by prefixing tool names with OC underscore in outgoing requests. Well, I say simply, it must have taken a while for DAX to figure this out. And by also stripping that prefix from tool names in the streaming response. I'll have a link to the PR in the description if you're interested. But this fix is just temporary. I'm 100% certain Anthropic will find a way around this. They'll find some kind of key or some technique to prevent users from doing this, patch it into their API, and this will happen again and again until the Claude subscription is not used in any other tools apart from Claude Code, because it makes business sense. So what does this mean if you're an OpenCode user who heavily uses Opus 4.5? Does that mean you have to move all your workflows, all your agents, your skills to Claude Code? Not exactly. The OpenCode team have been working on something called OpenCode Black, which is a $200 a month subscription that lets you use any models. At this time, we're not sure the exact models or the limits they impose, but this could be a great alternative if you were on the $200 max Claude plan. Until then, I'll stick with OpenCode, use Claude models to do the subscription for as long as I can, but then move to API pricing and use them a lot less in favor of other models. I really like using the OpenCode TUI, and I can't imagine moving all of that to Claude Code. But if you want an update on this overall situation, be sure to hit subscribe, which also helps us to get one step closer to hitting 100k subscribers.